Greetings. Now, Kengan Ashura is an anime on Netflix. At least I think it's, yeah, I'm pretty sure it's a Netflix original, but maybe. But regardless, it is probably one of my favorite animes that I've seen this year. And given how bad this year is, it certainly needs something. And one of its best things is its characters. So today, I'm bringing you my top 10 Kenyan fighters. Now, this applies to any fighter in Kengan Ashura, as long as they have participated in a Kenyan match or were associated with the Kenyan Association. And two things I would like to make clear before this. One, this is not a top 10 strongest list. It would be much different if it was. And two, just to keep things from getting a ton of arguments, Oma Takita is officially out of the running. So without further ado, let's get right into the list. Starting in at number 10, can't remember his nickname, but it's Senhatsumi. His strength is first rate, but he just doesn't seem to care. His only losses in the Kengan Association as of so far is because he didn't show up. His entire thing is that he's really strong, but he's extremely irresponsible. His martial art is based on Aikido, which is interesting, and we don't get to see much of Aikido anywhere. So that's nice. And he's somewhat entertaining. And the main reason he managed to make number 10 on the list is because, quite frankly, it was tough to decide whether to put him as an honorable mention or replace him with someone there. But regardless, Senhatsume comes in at number 10. And coming in at number 9, we have Nezu Masami, also known as the Man from the Land of Dreams. He was a thug. He was just a thug. Well, the strongest of them all. Because he was actually the leader of his gang. And he's borderline obsessed with a Disneyland ripoff. So much so that he actually worked for them and represented them in the Kengan Association. He's ridiculously strong, but the guy he was facing, he didn't stand a chance. Which sucks, because I wanted to see him win. So, now, I wanted to put him higher, but we haven't really seen what he's physically capable of, other than that axe kick that he used to break that mask off. So, that's really all I can give him. Then, coming in at number 8, we have Senhatsumi. Now, he's interesting because I didn't even realize he was a fighter until his match came up. I thought he was just a doctor that was working for the Kengan Association because the fact that people are constantly almost dying in that tournament. And then we saw his match. And we've seen that he's borderline, that he is extremely crazy. He recognizes it, and he has swords in his hands. He put explosives in his feet, and he injected himself with a bloodborne parasite just to make sure that he killed his opponent, because that's really all he was there for. It's ridiculous, but yeah. Although, the only thing I can really say is that it's kind of confusing as to whether or not he'll be in the second round, because, he technically lost his match, but he did lose his match because his opponent killed him. But he did get better. He came back. He got better from getting his neck snapped. But his opponent's dead, but he's not, so I'm kind of confused as to how that's going to work. But regardless, he's insane, and it's amusing. So, So Hanafusa Hajime comes in at number 8. And just barely managing to edge out above Hanafusa, we have Hell's Angel Jun Sekibayashi coming in at number 7. The ultimate pro wrestler in the Kengan Association. If we were talking weight classes, I'd say super heavyweight is a fair assumption. And he refuses to block or dodge attacks. He takes all of them head on. It's a horrible strategy in real life and would probably get you killed, but the way he does it makes it an effective method of fighting. Ultimately, I can't really say anything else other than he's pretty awesome, and I mean, just watching him fight that sumo guy in the first round was pretty ridiculous as it is. So Sekibayashi earned his spot on the list. Now, I figured I'd put him here, but I kind of am now thinking that I should have put him lower on the list. But regardless, Jun Sekibayashi comes in at number 7. Alright, coming in at number 6, we have the crying man himself, Meguru Masaki. At least I think that's how it's pronounced. Honestly, the second this guy came into the arena crying blood, he was most likely on this list. But then we find out that he was ridiculously skilled in judo. The fact that he was trying to kill his opponent the entire time, the fact that he can't feel pain, and everything else about him, he definitely deserves a spot on this list. Although I am extremely disappointed that we didn't get to see him get past the first round, and that he died in the first round. Honestly, I wanted to see more of him, but we're not gonna get it. And since we can't really see any more of him other than what we've seen already, number 6 is the best I can give him. Now, coming in at number 5 on this list, we have a person who actually didn't even make it to the Kengan Annihilation tournament in the first place, because he lost in the preliminaries. We have Jerry Tyson. Now, Jerry Tyson was an interesting one because, well, as I said, he didn't make it to the tournament, but honestly, if he was fighting anyone but Oma Tokita, I'm confident in saying that he would have made it to the tournament, and he probably would have managed to make it 1 or 2 rounds depending on his placement, maybe even 3. But regardless, there's also the fact that his fighting style is borderline ludicrous and interesting enough to get a spot on the list, and the fact that even though he was eliminated, he stayed a part of the tournament because in round 1, he was the only person who knew who Adam Dudley was, because, those Americans. But regardless, Jerry Tyson has to make it on this list, and I think number 5 is pretty reasonable. Now we get to the hardest part of the list, the top 4. Now, coming in at number 4, a guy who I honestly thought was going to make it higher on the list, Sa Peng. A master of Li Kuei, which is apparently not Muay Thai. He is a hot-headed martial artist who doesn't give up, and has personally taken the Thai god of war, Kowloon, as his rival, and constantly is trying to fight him, regardless of location. And his head is borderline indestructible, being harder than a samurai's helmet, completely destroying a guy's hand when he punched him. Honestly, he's an awesome fighter, and while I'm not the biggest fan of Muay Thai, fighters like Saw Pang are some of my favorite. Then, coming in at number 3, we have the Exterminating Vicar, Mokichi Robinson. Mokichi Robinson is a descendant of the creator of Buritsu, a martial art that is a combination of boxing, jiu-jitsu, and a couple other Japanese martial arts. It's an interesting martial art, and really, the only other person I've seen that's using it is Sherlock Holmes. So so of course he was going to make the list because it's almost impossible to find Buritsu anywhere else, but his fighting style and in the match against Ryan was awesome, and if Ryan actually listened to the rules of the Curry family there and not used his erasure technique, there is no way he would have won. And he just seems awesome. Even saying that he could defeat God, which is weird because he's a priest, but regardless, he definitely had to make this list. Honestly, it was pretty ridiculous regardless, but I think 3 is a pretty reasonable spot for him. Then coming in at number 2, we have the Giant Killer, Kaneda Shikichi. At least I think that's how it's pronounced. I am really not bad at pronouncing these things when I'm reading them off paper. But his entire thing is that he can predict his opponent's moves, which he used quite well originally to defeat So he can predict his opponent's techniques before they even do them, making it to where he can't get hit unless it's thrown by someone as ridiculously fast as Kowlon, who he did lose to in the first round. But he is still quite quite skilled. And yes, he is would alone be interesting enough to probably make the list. But of course, you guys know how how big a fan of Rock Lee I am, and how I like Asta. So you probably guessed that I'm always going to be a fan of the weak guy who's trying ridiculously hard to be strong, even though he's surrounded by people who have immense amounts of natural talent or just had it easy to get strong. So of course, he made the list for that. Matter of fact, that's the main reason why he managed to make number 2. Honestly, if it wasn't for that, he would have easily lost to Saw Pang, and Mokichi Robinson would have might have been behind him. But regardless. Now, before we get to our number 1 pick, here are some honorable mentions. First off, the Devil Lance, Kuroki Gensai. An assassin from Okinawa. His martial art emphasizes immense conditioning. To turn the fingers into weapons. With a spear hand that can easily go through, stab into a person. That alone was definitely enough to make it here. Especially since he borderline effortlessly defeated Lehito in their fight in the first round. And we know that Lehito is quite strong, given that he's able to consistently give Oma a tough time in their fights. Then, for our second honorable mention, we have the King of Combat, Okubo Naoya. He's an MMA fighter, which honestly I don't like MMA, but he is definitely strong, given that he managed to fight the Fenga Matsudo and had a good lead for most of the fight, and was able to adapt his strategy when Feng was able to adapt to become strong enough to where he wouldn't be able to win normally. But he definitely had to make only an honorable mention because he's really kind of boring. Really, he was more interesting as a spectator. Then, our final honorable mention is, of course, it had to be the superhuman Lehito. Honestly, his entire thing is that he can cut with his fingers just by swinging at a person. he's ripping off of Hanayama and Sikorsky at the same time. Gotta say, that alone managed to make him on the earn him an honorable mention. But also the fact that he's strong enough to give Oma problems was definitely there. Plus he came up with that nickname just because he wanted to be a superhero. And now we have number 1 on our list. A lot of Kengan fans probably saw this coming, but we have the King of Stranglers, Cosmo Imai. First off, the King of Stranglers is probably the most awesome nickname in anime history. But first off, he's a master of jiu-jitsu, and he's fighting people who've trained for their entire lives despite only being 19. That's ridiculous, but they also wrote him surprisingly well. Now, I'm not a fan of characters that are written to be geniuses, so you guys know how I don't like Neji, but a well-written genius like Cosmo Imai can be awesome, especially since he does train ridiculously hard, and up until his fight with that cop in the second round, he loved fighting. So, yeah. And also, let's be honest, Zone is the perfect technique to use in combination with with strangulation techniques. So, he's a well-written character. He's probably one of the strongest in the Kengan Association, and he's just generally awesome. So, of course, Cosmo Imai makes it number 1 on this list. Tell me in the comment section if you agreed. Tell me if you didn't, but still. If you want to see more of these videos, hit the subscribe button and click the bell icon. If you want to see more videos if you want to see me do more videos like this, hit the like button, all that stuff. And share this video if you'd like to help my channel out. This is Random Man, signing off.